Hey everyone, hope you're having a great day. Today we're going to be ranking the vehicles in Twisted Metal Black within a tier list. Before we get into it, I'd like to state that this tier list is not for Black Online and instead more focused on the single player story mode. Vehicles within each tier are ordered, but I think characters within the same tier have highly similar levels of effectiveness and could be interchanged depending on the scenario. I'm sure many of you will have opinions that are different from mine, and I would love to read them in the comments below. With that out of the way, let's get started at the bottom of the list. Brimstone has the unfortunate honor of taking up the bottom spot in my rankings. It's really a shame too, because I think the design of the vehicle is really cool, with the stained glass windshield and cross on the hood. The only thing Brimstone has going for him is a decent speed stat, but even then he isn't the fastest car in the game. His special attack launches a follower strapped with explosive at enemies that explode, and is what really brings him down as a character, as it can be unreasonably hard to land a hit with, and even when you manage to, it hardly does any damage considering the difficulty in landing it in the first place. On top of that, he has one of the lower armor stats in the game, making it easy to die quickly if you get frozen or surrounded. All these factors put together has me believing that Brimstone unfortunately deserves his spot at the bottom of the list as the only character in D tier. Up next and the first character in the C tier, we have Yellowjacket. Yellowjacket has all-around balanced stats and doesn't necessarily excel at anything in particular. His special attack can be used in two different ways, either by firing it and launching the spikes at opponents, or by ramming into them when the special attack is selected to drive the spikes deep into the enemy vehicle. This special attack is pretty underwhelming for the most part, especially the one where you fire the spikes, and in my opinion, ramming enemies in this game isn't the most consistent thing to pull off considering how fast everyone darts around, making the ramming use of the special tricky to execute without the help of a freeze first. It also doesn't help that when your special is primed, running into random traffic found in some levels will cause it to detonate and you'll just lose it. All this combined has Yellowjacket placed comfortably in the C tier. The second and final entrant within the C tier is Darkside. The heavily armored semi-truck is a pretty decent pick with just a few drawbacks that really hold it back. The special attack has the truck accelerate quickly to ram into opponents and will do greater damage if you can ram them into a wall or T-bone them. The problem with the special is it can be really hard to hit consistently without freezing enemies first, considering the speed of all the vehicles. Trying to get a maximum damage hit on an enemy like SPECTRE or GRIMM without a freeze is wildly inconsistent and will have you most likely missing and completely wasting the special in the process. The best thing about Darkside is the high armor stat, which allows much more damage to be taken, which is really nice in this game considering how fast you can get blown up by enemies. The first character entering the B tier is Warthog. In this game, Warthog has a special attack very reminiscent of Thumper's from previous games. This special attack sends out flames in a straight line, burning enemies and doing quite a lot of damage if you can manage to hit enemies for the full length of the attack. The issue with this special is similar to previous entrants in my rankings, and that's just how fast enemies move in this game. It can be pretty inconsistent to get a full length attack on enemies, and if you only hit them for a second or two, it really doesn't do that much damage. Freezing enemies is an option, but in this game, enemies who are damaged while frozen break out of the freeze much quicker, making it difficult to land a full-length special even when you do that. However, it's certainly still possible, just inconsistent. All of that has Warthog placed at the bottom of B tier. Next up after Warthog and capping off the B tier is Outlaw. Stats wise, Outlaw is one of the most balanced characters and doesn't excel at any one thing. His special attack has Agent Stone firing a machine gun at enemies automatically, and you can also send missiles at them by repeatedly pressing the fire button while the special is active, as long as you have the red laser tracking the enemy. The machine gun portion of the attack honestly doesn't do all that much damage, it's the missiles that really pack a punch. The missiles don't have the best homing in the world and can often miss, plus in order for the red laser to track an enemy, the enemy has to be in front of you, making it a bit hard to use in some situations. However, having balanced stats and a powerful special in most situations is enough to bring Outlaw to the top of B tier. Starting off the expansive A tier is Junkyard Dog. This is one of the more beginner-friendly characters in my opinion, considering the massive armor stat and powerful special weapon. The one downside is definitely the slower speed and clunkier handling, but in a game like Black where everyone is pretty fast, it's not such a massive deal. The special attack acts much like a gas can, where you fling it out and reactivate it to drop the attack on enemies. This attack does a very respectable amount of damage and can also hit multiple enemies at once on top of being fairly easy to use. The high armor stat and powerful special weapon are the key factors that land Junkyard Dog into the A tier. Coming up in the next spot is AXEL. AXEL is just an all-around, solid character that has two different special attacks to use. The first is the classic short-range burst that emits from his vehicle that does pretty good damage for how easy it is to hit. The second and new special he has access to has his wheels close in, and this increases his ramming damage. This special honestly just isn't worth the hassle, as the extra ramming damage it provides isn't really much. The classic burst special is pretty good throughout the game though, since many enemies love to just drive right up to you and put themselves in range for it. These factors have me believing that AXEL deserves his spot here in the A tier. Taking up the next spot is the face of the franchise, Sweet Tooth. His high armor stat is really nice in this game considering the punishment enemies can regularly dish out. His special sees him transforming into a mech of sorts, and then pressing the special again fires out a stream of 20 missiles, similar to the Zoomy missiles attack. The only issues holding Sweet Tooth back are his low speed and relatively poor handling, and the fact that the special attack can sometimes be inconsistent to fully land due to the speed of the game. Still, Sweet Tooth is a very powerful vehicle and one that everyone can enjoy playing. Up next is the ever-present glass cannon of nearly every game, and that's Mr. Grimm. This iteration of Grimm is very similar to the ones that came before it. He has extremely low armor, but incredible speed, handling, and a powerful special weapon to make up for it. His special attack in this game is also similar to previous games, where he throws a powerful projectile in a straight line, similar to a power missile, but much stronger. The obvious downside to this character is the low armor, meaning you die much quicker than other vehicles. Your playstyle needs to be calculated, and you typically have to spend a lot of time running away, but when played well, Grimm is one of the most powerful vehicles in the game. Next in the rankings, we have SPECTRE. This is one of the strongest iterations of the character in my opinion. The special is what you would expect from SPECTRE, a homing missile that relentlessly tracks enemies through walls to get to them. It just does a surprising amount of damage in this game and is a great tool to take out low health enemies who are trying to run away. The high speed of SPECTRE also makes it much easier to maneuver around the maps and gather weapons and health quickly. The downside is the low armor, which like I've said before can definitely be tough, especially in a game as unforgiving as Black can be. However, if the strengths are properly played to, SPECTRE is a fantastic vehicle to use in Twisted Metal Black. Following SPECTRE and beginning the top 5 is Crazy 8. The vehicle is somehow driven by a man with no eyes. Obvious weirdness aside, Crazy 8 is a very solid character to choose in this game. His special attack is similar to Outlaws from previous Twisted Metal games, where you electrocute enemies that are close to you. What makes Crazy 8's special especially great is the max attack version of the move. Inputting a direction on the D-pad 3 times in quick succession, then activating the special attack shortly after will change it to the max version of the attack. Upon hitting an enemy with this, spamming the special button will cause even greater damage. This special is fantastic and can do crazy damage. The only downside is the slight inconsistency in landing the max version of the attack if you aren't super practiced with it. Coming in at the number 4 spot is Shadow. Shadow is one of the more balanced characters stat-wise and has two very useful special weapons to utilize as well. The first of the two specials is the classic Shadow being sent along the ground that can be reactivated to cause an explosion. This special is great as it does a respectable amount of damage and can hit multiple enemies at once. The second special is very interesting and really useful. It has the Driver of Shadow popping out of the top of her car, similar to Outlaw's special, and she fires a machine gun automatically at opponents. This attack doesn't last as long as Outlaw's, but it does considerably more damage. It can be really useful for when enemies are chasing close behind you, and honestly, it just does a surprising amount of damage for what it is. All of these aspects land Shadow near the top of A tier. Manslaughter is next in the rankings, taking the number 3 spot, and is an excellent choice to use for a playthrough of the game. This hulking truck is a force to be reckoned with, thanks to its immense size and formidable special attack. Its special attack, which unleashes a barrage of smoldering rocks, can easily devastate opposing vehicles and reduce them to scrap metal. This special attack can also be rear-fired, and acts much like a gas can when you rear-fire it, as it lays down the rocks in a small area. The rocks will do increasingly more damage the longer they stay set out in that way, and can nearly one-shot squishier characters like GRIMM at full charge. Additionally, the vehicle's high health and armor ratings make it a tough nut to crack, even when facing off against multiple opponents. With its combination of raw power and durability, Manslaughter is the perfect choice for players who want to dominate the competition and emerge victorious in Twisted Metal Black's deadly tournament. Capping off the A tier in the number 2 spot, we have Roadkill. This vehicle may not have the durability of others, but what it lacks in armor it makes up for with great speed and a fantastic special attack. The special attack has Roadkill charge a group of missiles, and it does maximum damage once all of the lights on the missiles are lit up. The downside to this special is it can sometimes be hard to get the max attack consistently, but with a little bit of practice it's not too hard to get the hang of. The max attack does quite a lot of damage considering the speed of the vehicle and the fact that it has considerably more armor than a Mr. Grimm type character. Roadkill feels like a glass cannon, but it has a bit too much armor to really be considered one in my opinion. These factors are what I believe bring Roadkill to our number 2 spot and at the very top of A tier. While there are many great vehicles to choose from in Twisted Metal Black, the clear standout and only S tier vehicle in the game is Minion. This towering monstrosity is the ultimate combination of size, strength, and firepower. Its special attack unleashes a devastating beam of fire that can cut through multiple opponents with ease when used up close, and shoots out balls of fire at the nearest enemy when used farther away. Furthermore, its high health and armor ratings make it an incredibly tough vehicle to take down, even when facing off against multiple enemies. Minion's large size allows it to dominate the battlefield and bulldoze through opponents, while its powerful special weapons make short work of anything in its way. For players who want to feel invincible and crush all who stand in their path, Minion is undoubtedly the best choice for a playthrough of Twisted Metal Black. And here is a full look at my tier list. Just to reiterate what I said before, I believe the characters within each tier could be swapped around depending on playstyle, preferences, or just the situation you find yourself in. There are quite a lot of characters in A tier, but when making the list I really couldn't help but oversaturate the A tier because I simply felt like there were many deserving of being placed there. Please remember to leave a like if you enjoyed the video and consider subscribing if you want to see more Twisted Metal content like this. Thank you all as always for watching, and I'll see you next time.